Hello and welcome to the Exponential Edge podcast with your host, Arya Suler. I'm excited to have you join me on this journey exploring the forefront of technological advancements and innovation that will shape our future. As a sophomore at Acton Boxer Regional High School and the CEO of SecArmor, a cybersecurity startup, I have always been fascinated by the transformative power of technology. In this podcast, we will dive deep into 5 key areas that are poised for exponential growth in the next decade. We'll be exploring the realms of cybersecurity, generative AI, sustainability and climate tech, biotech and human longevity, as well as the reshoring of manufacturing. These topics hold immense potential to revolutionize our world and redefine the way we live, work, and interact. Each episode will feature insightful conversations with experts, thought leaders, and visionaries who are at the forefront of these fields. In just 30 minutes, our goal is to provide you with 5 signature nuggets of wisdom from our guests. These key takeaways will empower you with knowledge and help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technological landscape. Without further ado, let's introduce our guest for this week.
Hi everyone, our guest today is Sofiia Shvets, CEO of Let's Enhance and a member of the Forbes 30 Under 30. Hi Sofiia, could you please give our listeners a brief overview of your career?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Could you please give our listeners a brief overview of your career?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me today. I'm really happy to be here. So my career started around 10 years ago. When I had multiple jobs when I was in university, but my tech career started when I was a program manager in one of the first business accelerators in Ukraine called Happy Farm, and that's how I fell in love in tech and fell in love into innovations and entrepreneurship, and always wanted to build something on my own. But I spent some time in there. I was mostly on the business and marketing roles. And then after that, I was hired by Google, which was an amazing experience for me because I was just straight away out of college. I started in Ukrainian office, working with one of the largest resellers and e-commerce companies. That was my focus. And then I moved to Dublin, which is European headquarters. That helped me a lot to understand how big companies work, how they operate, and kind of develop my love for the technologies further. At some point, after approximately 3 years at Google, I realized that I really have this dream to start something on my own. So I quit the job, moved back to Ukraine, where I'm originally from, and started my kind of search path. At that point, I met my co-founder, Vlad, who is a data scientist and great engineer, and we had multiple ideas that we were working on. But he showed me a prototype of technology that can improve photo quality, and I immediately thought about many use cases that can be tried, from everything from design to e-commerce, which is one of my use cases. So that's how we started the company. It was a big experiment, but it's been 5 years. We have 2 products. Started working on AI before it became fancy and hyped. It was mostly research at that time, but it was very interesting to follow this journey for the last 5 years. So here we go.
So you had a great career so far. You're still really young, and it's really impressive that you've done so much in such a short time. So AI is a booming trend right now, especially, and there are many different types of AI. Like, I think you've probably heard symbolic AI, like spam filters on your email, or machine learning that happens in Netflix recommendations, Hulu recommendations, stuff like that, along with computer vision, which is in autonomous vehicles like Tesla. But the most hyped one, like you said, the most hyped one right now is generative AI. So could you explain the concept of generative AI and how it differs from the other forms?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, if you think about generative AI, is a technology that can create novel, new information that it was before, that it wasn't there before. Because before, like generative AI actually started, it didn't have that name, but like it started actually definitely 5-6 years ago when the technology called GANs, generative networks, appeared that could draw stuff. So right now, if you think about generative AI, we are thinking about technologies that can create new stuff, which is either text. We've seen ChatGPT, GPT models that got very famous, or definitely visuals like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, or videos. And all of them, it's created from scratch, something that wasn't there before, because that's kind of aligning generative AI in general. uh, Before that, AI was in very simple form, in simpler form, and there's multiple ways of, and multiple kinds of AI. Like descriptive AI, it was cat or dog. Like, is it a cat or is it a dog? So AI tells you like, yes, it is a cat, or no, it's not a cat. Like, so it could recognize stuff, it could apply something, something that you mentioned, Tesla. Like, it's definitely AI that recognizes patterns, but and makes actions around that. So that's how the car drives. But what makes generative AI so, like, as a standalone branch, is that now you can not just analyze information but create it from scratch as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. And how does your company, Let's Enhance and Clade AI, utilize generative AI in their ventures and products?
Yeah, absolutely. So my company, Let's Enhance, we've been working with computer vision for the last 5 years. It's our primarily focus. So we started with improving photo quality, and in that case, it's very precise application of technology to restore photos, because in order to restore photos you need to recreate information that was there. Because like if you send images through some social media, or just download information online, it usually gets compressed. That means that some of information was lost. So we use this technology to fill in the gaps, to create new information from scratch. So we started from there, and right now we are utilizing generative AI for mostly e-commerce use case, because big e-commerce stores, they get a lot of information from users, from sellers. So if you think about somebody like Amazon, they get millions of sellers that send them data, like, right, send them photos, send the descriptions of the images. So what we are doing at the company right now, we in some way replacing retouchers, replace manual routinish work to remove backgrounds, to improve quality of images, to fix lights, fix compositions on these product photos. And now with generative AI, we can create new marketing images, like placing products into new scenes that it wasn't there before. So instead of like ordering expensive photo shoots, sellers can just like type down like, I want my product to be on the kitchen table with some lemon tree in the background. So now AI can generate that, and can generate like these lifestyle shots without like any software, any gear.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's awesome. So I think that's a really like common use that a lot of people like would use in their lives, because everybody wants to change their photos. Like if you just took a wrong photo,
Yeah.
you can change it easily now. And you guys must have a lot of customers now. Uh,
We work with some
for the
of the
past few
biggest
years.
marketplaces, and also in our product Let's Enhance, we have we process more than 200 million of images
Wow.
so far, and I'm not sure about the number of registration, but more than 10
Yeah.
million. So
Right.
a lot of people use us for improvement of their content, and also for professional content.
Mm-hmm. All right. And shifting gears a little bit, generative AI raises some concerns for many people about the ethics and misuse
Yeah,
of the AI. So some of the examples are deep fake, like faces and voices. For example, some people have been started like ransoms, calling parents and imitating their kids' voices using generative AI and asking for money. So could you address these concerns and how they affect viewers and how you address them?
Yeah, I would say there's two separate questions because in our case, as our application is primarily is we are very focused on businesses, that would limit our use as well, right? So we limit ourselves towards product photography, so the technology that we are using is not very applicable for something like we don't do deep fakes. But the misuse of AI, like I'm always saying that technology is neutral. It's it it exists, right? And it can do different things, but at the same time, it can be used for good and for evil things. So AI, rapid development of AI unlocks multiple new use cases and new possibilities. So companies like ours, we are utilizing this to speed up processes and improve and optimize inefficiency. But at the same time, other technologies can be used for harm. So I think it will. What we will see in the next few years, as building AI first products became so much easier and so much cheaper, we will definitely see more and more use cases like that. Deepfakes are getting very real, and for us as humans, we are actually bad at spotting. We are bad at spotting deep fakes unless they've done bad. So definitely what we will see in the next few years is more deep fakes, more information manipulation before it will be regulated, because like platforms that spread information like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these social media platforms, they will learn how to detect this stuff at some point, because everything that was trained can be trained to be recognized. But we will have this time gap that it will be hard or not possible. And in that case, my main recommendation is, first of all, to be aware that this exists. Secondly, question what you see online. Because like as producing content is getting so much cheaper, that means that we can create hundreds of articles that highlight something that is not correct. We've seen it in 2016 that in Cambridge Analytica case and Facebook, when the message was hyper targeted to manipulate public opinion, and now it's getting just more cheaper and just easier to make. So for us as advanced users of the internet, we need to like question what we see and double check the information. That's the first case. Definitely there is a lot of audio fakes that started appearing recently. So for, as we're speaking mostly like with the young audience right now, so you guys need to educate your parents and especially grandparents that first of all, like there's this technology. Grandma, if somebody calls you with my voice, double check with me, is it really me? Because these things like exist. People get tricked because they don't know, that don't even imagine that this is possible right now, and it's so easy to do. And definitely there is a lot of like a lot of tricks, like checking facts for audio, like having safe words, safe phrases to make sure that double check that it's really you. So I know that it's a tricky point, and I have high hopes that it will be resolved sooner than later, and it will be because a bunch of smart people are working on that. But we will have some transitional period.
And I just wanted to clarify, deepfakes, what we just talked about is more of the audio aspect of it. But even in photos, like my dad was telling me yesterday that
Yeah,
he saw a photo of Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk kissing on Facebook, and
sure.
it looked really real. So, do you guys go through any of that in your work?
We don't do that because we don't need that. We don't need this. But that's a pretty easy, relatively easy technology. So if you've seen a boom of AI avatars that was like, I would say 6 months ago, that you can upload. There was a few apps that went viral that just decent amount of, I would say 10, 15 photos of you. That's why it's so easy to deepfake Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, there's a bunch of photos of them and they are very recognizable. But like 10, 15 photos of you from your face with different angles, with different backgrounds, right now is enough to replicate your face pretty realistically. So, yes, you can train a separate small model on your face and create content with you. It's just much easier right now. Yeah.
So, what are the main challenges and limitations that you've encountered while working with generative AI?
I would say generative AI is it all depends on the use case, right? So there's a few challenges of building AI applications in general. First of all, is data. Like you need to have enough data for your use case for training and modifying models that will bring like consistent results. So collecting data is essential for every type of business. Secondly, it's resources. So all these models typically run in the cloud or we need computational power to run them. So they're getting easier and easier, lighter and lighter, but still they need pretty powerful machines to run them, especially at scale. So one of the challenges that we have is when we produce a lot of content from marketplaces, we need a lot of resources and it needs to be processed fast because like nobody wants to wait for content for 30 minutes, right? We need it in terms of seconds. So we have a separate team that is we call it ML ops team, that is engineering team that is training. Like once we have the model that works, they're optimizing this model and the system for speed. And definitely one of the challenges as well is that depends on the use case. The network might produce some artifacts, and if we upload something that it hasn't seen before, it might produce some artifacts. So you constantly need to improve them and retrain them. And for you and me, it can work in different ways. So before the AI and before the software, what's the biggest difference in generative AI software and apps right now is that before, if you use any app or any program, you click the button and it does the same for you and me, right? But right now, if you want to generate like text or image or video through DALL-E, through any generators, the quality of your result really depends on the quality of your input, on the quality of your prompt. So you need to educate yourself how to get good at this. It's like learning to operate these models, because it might produce the result. If you don't give enough or not good input, you will not get a good result. There's a saying in ML, garbage in, garbage out, which kind of showcase this. If you don't have good input, you will not get good result.
Yeah. And so generative AI, especially the higher level, which is the real world AI, which you can actually use, it can do the job of like an expert in an area, like without having a manual worker there. Uh, how do you train? How do you train the generative AI model? And like what data is required to train it exactly?
It Again, it depends on the use case, right? So on the generative AI model, typically there is a few levels of building the apps. So if you think about creating an app that, for example, generate text, or generate is like a writing copilot, it's always a foundational model, base model that kind of like app developers can take it and modify it, because training foundational model is very, very expensive. So companies like OpenAI, Stability AI, they spend a lot of time and resources to train the model. How to train the foundational model? You basically train it on literally half of the internet. You just need to show it a lot of different samples of data, either text or images. So in order to train the image model, you need to show it like 500 million of images on the internet. So it learns what is sea, what is like how skin looks like, how hair looks like, how what like how nature looks like, because then it can reproduce and mix results. And that's the foundational model. Companies like us, it's called application layer. When you take the foundational model and you retrain it for your use case. In that case, it's much faster and it doesn't require that many resources. Because, for example, if you want to generate people, then you need to show enough different people to the model to improve the accuracy in this area. Because if it's foundational model can be pretty general, but can be bad at generating I don't know, Asian people, right? Because we all have specific features. In that case, in order to improve it, we kind of show a bunch of like small or medium data set of people with Asia from Asian countries, just showcasing the features, and then the result will get much better. So that's how you train the model, and that's how it's a process of iteration. Sometimes it's pretty fast. Sometimes it takes much longer, but the general process is always like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for someone interested in learning more about generative AI as a topic, what resources or platforms do you think they could look at, and how can they get started in that field?
Yeah, absolutely. I would be happy to provide links, but generative AI is a big trend and it's here to stay. I think for us as a users, there's two ways how you can approach learning of generative AI. Is either you want to become an engineer or deep dive or build the models. Then there's a bunch of developers, the resources for developers, like in Coursera, Andrew Ng. It's one of the founders of all this generative AI movement. They built like a course for like generative AI for beginners or deep learning for beginners. So then you can take that and learn how to work with these models. I think what it's important and useful to start with as a just a users is to educate ourselves how to work with these models, because they can save a lot of time. In that case, there is a lot of resources on, even I would say Google launched a bunch of new courses on generative AI, general courses to kind of like introduction to generative AI, to understand the space, to understand use cases. There is a bunch of courses on LinkedIn Learning. It's a very short courses on some practical use cases. And then if you want to become better at prompting or better at generating images, there is a bunch of specific resources like specific courses. I can send some links that you can attach to the podcast. But what I would recommend is just to get familiar with the space and really understand what you're personally interested in. So Google Introduction to AI might be good enough to start and understand the space.
All right, thank you. And we have some extra time, so I just wanted to ask, I thought it'd be interesting if you could provide the goals in the future for Let's Enhance AI in the next coming years. What do you guys plan to do?
So if you're working, generative AI is a new direction that we are launched this year and we are constantly exploring, but our mission is to help businesses use AI in an effective way to create great content on the internet that will help them sell and will help them deliver their message. So our vision is that we would want to become like a one-stop provider for brands, like a photo shoot in the pocket, that you can upload your product and then you can create new content of images, videos, train the model. And it's what AI unlocks for us. It's not just a tool. It's just a tool to replicate what we're already doing. It's also a tool to create new content, because right now you can generate your product on the Mars surface or in some condition that were not possible before, could never be possible before. It can be a great tool for ideation, just like thinking through, creating concepts. So our goal is to become this like a copilot for e-commerce businesses, for brands, that will help them just sell better, promote their products, and create new ideas for their products.
That's amazing. So, finally, could you just consolidate your 5 most important takeaways, your 5 golden nuggets from this entire conversation and state them?
Yeah, I would say 5 thoughts that if you want to take away, they're here to stay. That yeah, generative AI is a big trend. It's here to stay. It unlocks the new generation of applications. In order to work and benefit from generative AI, you don't need to be technical. Uh, you need to learn um, how to work with this new direction, a new generation of apps, because there is a saying, generative AI will not replace people, but people who use this AI will outrun other people who are not using that. So, and that's very true, because it gives a lot of productivity boost to what we are doing. Then building generative AI is getting cheaper and easier every year, which unlocks new possibilities and risks. We can build products much faster and much cheaper, but the deepfakes and unethical use is here to stay for the next few years. So we need to be very cautious on the internet and just question what we see. And yeah, I would say I'm optimistic, and I believe that we are moving to the society that with AI will cover some of the repetitive work and will unlock us new possibilities to be creative.
Mhm. All right. Thank you for that. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the Exponential Edge podcast. And join us next week as we delve into topics that will see exponential growth in our future. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye.
Bye bye.